team? It's your boy Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are with Michael Jordan ESPN basketball documentary. I'm ready to dive right into this. Before we do, make sure you subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, give the video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. Where we go, MJ?
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! He is moving like a tremendous.
And we're gonna break this down into 3 parts.
Machine, Secretariat by Joe.
Very strong has won the gold medal for the United States team.
The greatest goal scorer in National Hockey League history.
Michael Johnson running for the medal and into Olympic history. He destroys his own record.
Hello, I'm Chris Fowler for Sports Century. Born into the heady ether of a new sports age, he played the game above the rim, head jouncing, torso turning, stick legs pumping. He was bigger than life, a human billboard, the image of athletic perfection, the icon of icons. He was Michael Jordan, MJ, his airness. So good, so true, so completely heroic that despite the hype of his times, he just may have scraped immortality with his wings.
Jordan with the steal. Jordan slams it again. Michael for 3. Yeah!
Jordan, look at that. Michael drives Wilkins into left for the tie.
Woo!
When he came on the floor, people knew that they were in trouble.
He saw Michael Jordan.
Even in a game, if I see him do something like that, I would just grab my face and be like, oh my God, what did I just see?
Crazy.
Spectacular move by Michael Jordan.
His strength is like a big man. He's the strongest guard, I'm talking about body-wise, to ever play.
Michael on the drive across the lane. Turnaround shot. Got it. 63 for Jordan.
Michael was coming in from the side, and we were running down there to try to close him off, and next thing I knew, he was going by me.
A courageous, classic performance by the flu-ridden Michael Jordan.
Give me the ball for the last shot. I'll do it. It is my destiny to do it. I was made by God to take the last shot.
He said I was made by God to take the last shot.
In what was widely thought to be his last game in the NBA, Michael Jordan led the Chicago Bulls to a storybook ending in Game 6 of the 1998 Finals.
Michael working on Russell. Brings them to within 1.
It was one of those games that it felt like we had control of the game. And I wish I had a nickel for every time you can say that about a team that Michael played on.
Along his double. Swat at it and steal it.
You get right to the last second. He had the ball in that situation, and you expect the ball to go in the basket.
Jordan. Open. Chicago with the lead.
Nice.
He loves to compete and rise to that moment that is presented to him, and I think he seeks that moment.
The Chicago Bulls have won their 6th NBA championship.
But Jordan's dominance extended beyond the confines of a basketball court.
It's hard to overstate Michael Jordan's greatness, but he has done it at a time when everything has come together.
Michael Jordan is CEO Jordan.
MJ, those New Air Jordans.
He had all of the media exposure
Jordan scores 43 in wingtips.
that the other guys before him didn't have on internet, cable, satellite TV.
Game 4 in Chicago, in a word, Michael. Yes, it was a national holiday. Michael did not take off, he just took off on the niche.
He became the Pied Piper. Television ratings followed him, fans followed him. They flocked into stores to buy anything that was endorsed by him.
Better eat your Wheaties.
Michael Jordan created all kinds of fans, including a lot of women fans.
Please welcome Michael Jordan.
Jordan, to his credit, knew that every minute he was in front of a camera, was an audition for another company. Here's a black man who's the most popular person in a white society. I mean, what bigger benefit for a company can there be to cross the racial divide with a guy who's popular everywhere?
If I could be like Mike.
You think about all the things that Michael Jordan's influenced, starting with the baggy shorts, bald head, the shoes.
Money's gotta be the shoes. Shoes. You sure it's not the shoes?
I'm sure, Marlon.
We see the powerful impact that he's had on our society and on our culture.
Fortune magazine says Jordan is responsible for soaring revenues, an estimated $10 billion during his career.
God dang.
It goes across national boundaries where friends of mine go to the heart of the Congo and they see kids in number 23 Chicago Bull uniforms.
I thought Magic Johnson was the most famous basketball player in the world still when the Dream Team went to Barcelona, and I was mistaken. Michael was big enough that there were 40-foot murals.
That's crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Jordan.
Because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
More than liked, Jordan...
That joker is... Mike was bigger than life, bro. Like, guys, to be that level of fame, bro, not just in your country, globally, that level of fame is absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane.
People like me.
More than liked, Jordan was adored. But the fallout from this idolatry had its negative side. For even as public Jordan mushroomed into a global marketing colossus, the private man shrank ever deeper into a glass-walled isolation chamber.
He told me once that when he walks through a crowd, even if he appears not to be looking at the people in the crowd, he can feel every eye on his skin. He said it's like a burning feeling. Until I'm alone again, I feel the burning, those eyes looking into me.
If you're Michael Jordan and you're that celebrated and that good, the phone rings 1,000 times a day with people who have ideas that they say are good for you. This is going to be really good for you. It's not good for you. It's good for them.
He said those 2.5 hours on the court every game night is the most peaceful time of my day. He said because it's like there are invisible walls around the court. It's the one part of my day that no one can touch me, no one can come up and ask for an autograph, no one can pitch a business deal. I'm meditating out there.
On or off the court, Jordan guarded his carefully tilled public image.
He has an awful lot of clout. And I've heard from more than one person that if you step outside the bounds of how he wants you perceived, then the word will get to you.
We wrote a story about him in Sports Illustrated when he was trying to play baseball. And I think the story was fairly sympathetic, but the cover was Bag at Michael. And he, to this day, will not talk to this magazine.
Oh,
Whenever Michael appears in public to come down from his hotel room, he is always dressed immaculately because he knows that there are people in the lobby that maybe are going to get a 20-second glimpse of Michael Jordan once in their life. And he wants to portray a certain image in a certain class.
I'm very image conscious, probably more than I should be, because I think it really prevents me from being the fun person that people behind closed doors know who I am.
Jordan said, a lot of times I'll dream I'm a bad alcoholic. And in the dream, I can't stop drinking and I'm embarrassing myself and I'm going to lose everything. He says, when I wake up from that dream in a sweat, he knows that one slip up, one mistake can throw it all away. And
big time.
I think he lived in terror of that for a very long time.
To keep from living any part of that nightmare, Jordan enlisted the media in his efforts to stay balanced on the high wire.
We protected him more than I'd like to admit. When his first child was born, he hadn't been married yet. He says to a couple of the beat writers, including me, I really would appreciate it if you didn't put that in the newspaper. Because we know he's had the baby, who was Juanita, who's, became his wife, and they were going to get married. And so I say, sure, Mike, we won't do it. And we don't. And we just simply protect him because he asked us and because we were concerned as well about what the public reaction would be.
Michael Jordan is the Teflon athlete of our generation. Everything just
fell off of Jordan. You couldn't win any points in the media if you said or wrote something bad about him. People didn't want to hear that.
I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. I know Mike faced criticisms, but compared to, I feel like athletes these days, Mike faced a lot less. But social media is a lot bigger now, so it's like everybody has a voice instead of just like your TV stations so it's like everybody literally has a voice. So it's a lot different, but that media, y'all heard the media was protected.
In the media, if you said or wrote something bad about him, people didn't want to hear that.
Certainly when it comes to Michael Jordan, I think that we're in some sort of national denial. Everybody made money through Michael Jordan. Nobody really wants to disturb this legend.
I feel that.
Born in Brooklyn on February 17, 1963, Michael Jordan was the fourth of 5 children. When he was still an infant, his father James and mother Dolores moved the family back to their native North Carolina, where they eventually built a home in the seaside town of Wilmington.
As a kid, he watched Roots and sort of had a vague idea of what the whites did to the blacks in our country. And I think that he said he got a little angry, but his parents wouldn't let him carry it very far. It's, be better than that, rise above it.
He would watch his father working around the house, and his father would have his tongue sticking out while he was working. And whenever Michael would go to work, he'd have his tongue sticking out too.
He kind of was the one that kept things going, constantly energetic, moving, involved. Always involved in sports, always involved in activity. I'd say mischievous would be the best word to describe him.
One day, Jordan's youthful confidence was shaken to its roots.
He was only about 12 years old. He and a friend of his were swimming out by Wrightsville Beach, and they got caught in an undertow and got swept out to sea, and his friend died. That's probably where a lot of his fear of water came from. I don't think he went back to the beach that much after that.
If Jordan's interest in swimming died with his friend, he always had a natural-born desire to outdo all comers, especially his older brother, Larry.
I grew up playing against my brother, and that's the best way that you can learn competition. And once you feel like you can beat your brother, you can beat anybody.
He just was determined that he was going to win.
I do feel that. I definitely understand what he's talking about.
And once he started to beat Larry, then, well...
But Jordan's secure sense of his athletic self was severely challenged during his sophomore year at Laney High School. He failed to make the varsity basketball team.
He was only probably 5'9", 5'10". He was the best sophomore that we had, but at the time we really did not need a guard.
He says, I looked at the list and I went down it. I went past the J's and I wasn't there. And I went back up again and I wasn't there. He says, and I ran home and my mom was at work. There was no one at home. And I went to my room and I closed the door and I cried so hard.
I would venture that was the first time that Mike had ever been told he was not good enough to make a team. And it was tough, but being a competitor, he had something to prove.
Jordan accepted the challenge and starred for the JV. The next year, he stood at 6'3" and joined the varsity. By the end of the 1980 season, Jordan had established himself as a major college prospect.
His coming out party was the summer before his senior year when Coach Williams and the staff recognized him at camp, and then he ended up going to 5-star camp and really playing great.
Mike came to our camp, and Sunday afternoon, the first day he was there, I was running the gym, and he came through, and that night I went to Eddie Fogler, and Eddie said, did you see anybody you liked? And I said, Eddie, I think I just saw the best 6'4" high school player I've ever seen.
You couldn't get a ticket to see him play as a senior. Everyone who from 30, 50, 60 miles around wanted to come and watch Michael Jordan play.
That's crazy.
After averaging 27 points and leading Laney High to a 19-4 season as a senior, Jordan packed his bags and headed for the only college he ever seriously considered, North Carolina. He soon learned there were no easy streets in Chapel Hill.
A couple of weeks before practice started his freshman year, I said, Michael, you're going to have to do one thing. You're going to have to work a lot harder than you did in high school. And he said, I worked as hard as everybody else.
And I said, do you want to be like everybody else?
Number 23, Michael Jordan.
Jordan's diligence earned him the respect of his coaches. And in the 1982 NCAA final against Georgetown, with the Tar Heels down 1, he wasn't afraid to pull the trigger in the final seconds.
Gordy to Black. The time, 18. Shot, Jordan! Michael Jordan! North Carolina has won the NCAA championship.
The confidence and the competitiveness.
Mike was just that man. And he said out there, he always just had the ultra supreme confidence in himself. And I love that.
Really grew in huge leaps and bounds after that freshman year.
He competed from day one, and he worked and improved his shooting, outside shooting, as he kept getting better every year he played.
Gannon nearly loses it out. It is stolen now by Jordan. Uh-oh, they love that. MJ up in the rafters.
Michael in the locker room before practice would point to somebody and say, I'm going to dunk on you today. And, it's like you didn't want to make eye contact with him because you didn't want to get picked.
3-on-2 right now. Oh, what a jam!
After an All-American sophomore season, Jordan was named Player of the Year as a junior in 1984, while leading North Carolina to a #1 ranking and a meeting with Indiana in the Sweet 16.
3.5 hours before the game, we have a pregame meal and walkthrough. Pregame meal's over, we're all kind of sitting there, and Coach Knight goes down the list on who has who, and he comes to Jordan, and he gets this kind of sick look on his face, and he says, Doc, you've got Jordan. I went back to my hotel room and I threw up.
But Doc...
We gonna end it there on that note, because he said he threw up from the fear of having to guard Michael Jordan. That's all we got. If you guys got a favorite video suggestion, you can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, give the video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. It's your boy Neal, out.